So Made in Abyss, the Golden City arc, Season 2 has officially begun, and with it brings probably the darkest anime of this anime season. I mean, hey, I could be wrong, something could surprise us and turn out to be darker, but given what Made in Abyss Season 1 and the movie Dawn of the Deep Soul showed us, this series be dark and twisted, and it truly does get more demonically just what am I seeing the further they go down, and truthfully, I just don't see these characters making their way ever back up, given that it does feel like there's no escape. Now, reminder, you do need to watch the third movie. There was 3 Made in Abyss movies, the first 2 were recaps, the third one, Dawn of the Deep Soul, is an arc. It is an important arc. It is, in my opinion, the best Made in Abyss arc that has been released to date. If you skip it, you're basically just, missing so much context, especially given where our girl got her whistle. That is a key for them moving deeper into the Abyss. So definitely go watch that unless you just want to skip the best content that Made in Abyss has released to date. Given though that the show does get better as each arc progresses, I wouldn't be shocked if this becomes the best arc. But with that said, this was a very interesting premiere because I wasn't expecting over half of it to be focused on a new cast of characters. And I think the way they directed it was absolutely spot on because you get this sense of they left and they're searching for this hope, this golden city that this compass is pointing to. And, even though it felt like, yeah, they're going to the abyss, it was still interesting to see the different mentality that our central trio have towards the abyss after following them for so many episodes/arcs. And then to see them go into that abyss and get a brief taste of what the curse has to offer as then you transition to the Central 3 with Reg and everything like that, Rico. It's interesting to see how they directed it in such a way that makes you say, when we see those characters again, they're not going to be anything the same, are they? I'm not going to be shocked if they're all dead beside a couple of them like Bailiff and things like that. But it was a very well-directed episode that definitely got across that if people were worried that it was going to be quote-unquote censored, like I saw a lot of fear-mongering before this season started up, yes, it's impossible to probably be quite as dark as the source material, which I've heard nothing but gory things about. But the fact that they didn't shy away from the very first scene being this, and I'm like, okay, I already know I'm going to want to punch this bastard in the face and throw him in the abyss. And to see how they got around talking about some pretty taboo subject matter, all things considered, as they really got you to connect with this new character who you just are like, why are people so shitty? Why can't things be better? And the idea of searching for that better tomorrow, it makes it all the more painful, I find. Because maybe the Golden City really is some paradise, and there will be a shocking turn of events, but, given that Made in Abyss is all about sucker punching you, and after you've recovered, doing another 2 or 3 or maybe even 10 sucker punches, it feels like there's always going to be a catch, even if the Golden City worked out. There's always going to be something worse. And given how they're really getting a sense of these characters trying to find that better tomorrow, they're going to use that to stab us in the heart, probably harder than we've ever felt up to this point. But I love the fact that they didn't shy away from the setup. They said, Made in Abyss is a giant journey. It doesn't need a character dying on screen. It doesn't need a big action set piece. It can be characters sailing or wandering into that abyss, and we can let the scenery, we can let Kevin Penkin's gorgeous OST steal the show and tell that narrative. And they do such a good job at letting the smaller, quieter moments take hold and make you both gasp at the beauty that this abyss can offer, while showing so many signs that any other logical person would turn away from and go back up. But I think what they did a good job with is this new cast of characters giving them a sense of this is their only shot, so whatever happens is going to happen. And I like the fact that you got a sense that because she was so, tormented in her own life, the fact that she now takes care of those who have nowhere else to go, and the fact that you have this one person who basically said that she's sterile, so she can't have kids, so she was abandoned for the abyss, and they can't really understand her other than Bailiff because he kind of pieces together what they're saying. The fact that she's the reason they kept her around because of the guide, but a guide towards the abyss isn't really all that special when you think about it, because had you just naturally got lost and climbed back up, you probably would have had a better life than actually getting a guide deep down to where you want to go and the hell that's going to pop up. Literally, the first floor of that is just, you start getting cursed and you think, oh shit, are they poisoned? And it may not seem that extreme, but given what we've seen over the course of the first season and the movie, it's pretty heartbreaking. But I did like how they didn't shy away for, like, some of the more, I guess you could call it awkward moments. Like, I'm not saying I need it to see the whole shit scene or the idea of them discussing it, but it is something that you don't see a lot of stories like this bring up. The fact that a lot of adventurers, when they're trying to just do a natural bodily thing, they probably get killed by a monster. So the idea of, do you hold and wait, or do you awkwardly go in a silent elevator where everyone can hear, even if they can't necessarily smell? It was awkward, it was a little goofy, but it is something that naturally would come up in an adventure like this. Even if I didn't necessarily need to see it, it is something that you can kind of see both sides for, sort of a thing. But an incredible episode, and one thing that definitely catches my eye now that I've played Death Stranding is something about the OST that I've never quite been able to put my finger on in terms of what it reminds me of, because I've never had a soundtrack quite like Made in Abyss. And if you've ever played Death Stranding, Hideo Kojima's masterpiece, in my opinion, it's a very isolated game, a lonely game, and the way music is used in that game so sparingly, but when it's there, it kind of seeps into your soul. I find that the way the Made in Abyss OST works is when it's playing, it's not like blasting all the time, but when you hear those beautiful voices, it just eats into your soul and gives you a sense of fear, but hope and beauty. And it's a weird, odd combination that I can really only say Made in Abyss and Death Stranding have ever perfectly captured that style of OST and that type of musical directing, but leave it to Kevin Penkin, man, to just really knock it out of the park with everything he touches. But I truly think Made in Abyss is my favorite work of his. It's just so goddamn remarkable, and the landscape shots and everything in this episode, some beautiful stuff for sure. I think the one cool thing about Made in Abyss is that despite everyone knowing it gets more messed up the more we watch and the deeper the arcs go in, it's not like you can necessarily spoil in the traditional sense, because once you know the show gets twisted around the first third of the season 1 there, it's so great to see that even when you know certain things are coming or you suspect certain things are coming, it still is impossible to grasp just how extreme they might go. And I'm not going to talk about it, even though you are required to have watched the movie before watching this. I do want to make it so, in case people did watch the first episode and hadn't seen the movie and they're going to go back and watch it, I don't want to give specifics, but there's points in the movie that really, even if you knew they were coming up, it still hits hard. And as someone who recently rewatched that movie in anticipation for this season, it got worse with a rewatch. So even knowing that shit gets bad, or even having knowledge of what comes up, to see it in anime form is still gonna leave us shook, to say the least. And I'm excitedly terrified to see what they decide to pull. But I'm excited. Another 11 episodes, week by week wait. Going to be painful. On one hand, I kind of wish we got a double feature this week so we could have a bit more, see where that Golden City is going to take us, but I can't deny that the fact that the cliffhangers do work in order to get us excited for more, and I can't wait to see where they take us. So as always, let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. What do you hope to see in the future episodes going forward? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.